Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Comic Bobcast, brought to you by theelbowdrop.com, where we drop the elbow on all things sports and entertainment. I am the bad boy, Robbie Fitz, and with me, as always, is the only man to creep Wonder Woman out after she put him in the lasso, Bob. How are you tonight, Bob?
Good enough to lie.
All right, in honor of the new Deadpool movie that everybody's talking about, we wanted to go back a little bit and start talking about past comic book movies.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's tons of good ones, even more bad ones, I think.
Yeah. More, exactly. The ratio is pretty upsetting.
So we're just going to dive right in. Bob, is there any movies in particular that strike you as particularly bad?
Oh, God, where to begin? Okay, I guess we can talk about... Things. Do I want to start with the sequel? That's tough. I feel it's not fair to blame a sequel for being bad, so I don't want to start off with a sequel. I'm going to say X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Okay, Origins.
That was atrocious. I absolutely hated it. That was one of the worst fucking comic book movies I've ever fucking seen.
I'm not going to disagree with you at all.
Don't you fucking dare.
It started very
I have a lasso.
I like not a whole lot to like about this movie.
There wasn't a single fucking thing, except there was one green light in there. One shining light was Deadpool introduced as Ryan Reynolds.
Yes,
as a Deadpool character,
not
in costume, but
yeah,
we were introduced to Watson.
I liked him. I enjoyed him. I even liked the Blob in that movie as well.
I'm happy we saw Blob. I didn't like the change of origin though. That's not Blob.
Understandable. I mean, this movie kind of took things in its own direction.
Yeah, this is no.
It started off very weak.
It was everything about it was just. Leave Schreiber as Sabretooth I thought was a phenomenal casting.
Yes, he did a very
That
good
was
job.
great.
He was good. Wasn't the biggest fan of Stryker in this movie though.
Oh yeah, awful. I mean, the casting was not bad, but I think just the overall presentation and performance was very disappointing.
Yes, he didn't offer a whole lot to it. Then in the movie, all these different characters brought in, and I don't think any
for no
of them,
reason.
Yeah,
for no look, we put Cyclops. Why? We put him.
Exactly.
Look, Emma Frost. But why is she? Shut up. She's there.
Yeah.
All right, fine. We'll fucking take her. Damn.
Yeah, Emma Frost not done very well in that movie. However, Emma Frost was done very well in the Days of Future Past she was in. I
actually, believe it or not, can be hated. I didn't actually see that one.
Oh.
Everyone tells me like you hated X-Men Origins. You didn't really like the Wolverine. I recommend you watch Days of Future. I heard it was great. Days
of Future is very good. Casting for Emma Frost, I forget her name, but she's very, very sexy. That movie's pretty good. I'm not gonna spoil anything for you, but it's worth it. I mean, Kevin Bacon. Kevin Bacon is Kevin Bacon. We love him. He was.
Are you talking about First Class right now? Actually.
Oh, I am talking.
I think it's at First Class. I saw, and I fucking loved First Class. First Class was incredible. She was in First Class. She was with Kevin Bacon.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm thinking. No problem. First Class. Days of Future Past actually was a little weak. Now that I'm thinking about it, it was okay.
Didn't see that, but First Class was perfect. But back to Wolverine Origins being shit. Awful movie. I can't believe I think once the unedited version hit the internet. I watched about half of it and just saw how bad the effects were, and I'm like, oh, maybe they'll actually work harder. And I saw it, and I'm like, oh, you just made stuff shinier. This is pathetic. Yeah, it was so bad. The comedy scene where Wolverine, like, I liked it. I liked the idea. I don't mind laughing in a comic book movie at something to be taken seriously, like Wolverine with his claws in the bathroom and he's knocking and cutting shit. Like, I could see they were trying to be funny, but they even failed at that.
The only thing I will say that I liked about X-Men Origins Wolverine was that it was one of the only movies in Marvel Universe that addressed how heavy Wolverine is. Most of the movies don't actually mention it, don't even think about it.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a very good point.
But in that movie, he sits down on the motorcycle drops because
the adamantium skeleton. Very good point. Very good point.
That was something that I did enjoy about that movie.
One thing, like the whole scene, actually, speaking of adamantium, when they address his skeleton with the adamantium and he comes out of the water and he's all scary and shit. Like, I loved that. That was
good.
His resurrection scene, I guess we can call it, as the new steel, metal Wolverine.
Yeah, basically,
I loved it.
You mean every trailer showed that scene. So
yeah, exactly.
The scene you liked was the scene that was in all the trailers.
I love the trailer. The
Comes
trailer
out
was
of
the
the
best
water,
part.
makes a scary face as the claws coming out.
Exactly.
It was a good scene, very good scene.
Otherwise, everything was bad, excluding us getting a sneak peek at what Deadpool would become eventually. Thank God.
Yeah, and Ryan Reynolds was good in that movie.
He was great. Lee Schreiber, great Sabretooth. Wouldn't mind him reprising the role in the future.
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, give him the long hair. He'd still look fucking great.
Yes. As long as the only thing I don't think would transition very well would be that ridiculous skin tight costume from the it was in the animated series as well, but that skin tight Sabretooth costume would not transition well.
Oh yeah, with the fuzzy back.
Yes. So as long as you don't put that in, I think we could pretty much we can handle just about anything.
I'm still waiting for the fucking Wolverine costume. I don't know why that hasn't made. I was so pissed. I was watching The Wolverine, another one that was okay at best. And they hinted at it in a deleted scene.
Yes, I saw the deleted scene.
And I'm watching that. I'm like, why are we not getting a full clothed Wolverine? Like, Hugh Jackman announced that he's gonna cut. He wants to stop. He wants to maybe do 1 or 2 more movies or something, and he wants to quit the role. Yet just last year he goes, he's going to play Wolverine till he dies.
Yeah, of course. Well,
but this is like fucking Robert Downey Jr. being a jerk off, and he's like, yeah, I'm getting tired of Tony Stark. You weren't doing nothing with yourself. You were in a gutter drinking yourself to death because your career was dead. You did a comic book movie. We, Bob and Bob over here, resurrected your career, and now you're leaving it? Fuck you. You belong to us now.
Exactly. I mean, that was his return. Iron Man was his return. He did a great job. And now you owe us that, because before that, even when he was in his crazy phase,
he was in Gothica.
And
I just stumbled upon that the other day. It was terrible.
If you ever saw the movie In Dreams, that was a creepy movie he was in. He's really good in that. But,
okay, good point. But
other than that, he owes us Iron Man from now on.
And Hugh Jackman owes us Wolverine till death. Please give us a full body costume.
Yes.
All I'm asking. Blue and yellow or orange and yellow. I don't care. Surprise me.
Okay, I'm going to take us into a movie that is a little bit of a guilty pleasure for us here, and that would be Elektra.
Yeah, I enjoyed Elektra. I thought it was pretty decent. Of all the shitstorms that came out of the early 2000 superhero movies, when Marvel was just so desperate, they sold everything they possibly could to stay afloat. Thank God they did, because I don't think we would be where we are today.
Oh, absolutely not.
But yeah, Elektra, I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the characters in it.
I love Tattoo Man.
Yes, I always remembered him. I thought he was so cool.
I remember, when I first saw that movie, I wasn't nearly into the backstory of characters because I was pretty young when that movie came out. But I remember he stuck out in my mind, and I thought he was like the coolest thing. The action in that movie was okay. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of great fight scenes.
Yeah, they didn't really pay as much attention to this movie as they did like in Daredevil. Not that they paid attention in it, but I felt Elektra, they tried-ish, I guess. It was,
it was something where it was a strong female.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, name another movie at all, comic book wise, where there was a pretty strong, dominant female figure of that time. Like, I mean, Hit Girl and Kick-Ass, but that was another 10 years later almost. Yeah. Catwoman came out shortly after, and that was an abortion and a half on screen, wrapped around in leather and a whip.
Yeah, let's not talk about that movie.
Yeah, sorry, Fitz is getting an erection right now.
Alex Borstein is the highlight of the movie, I really don't think, I don't think we can talk about it as a comic book movie anymore.
Good point. Yeah, I love it. Jennifer Garner. I thought she was good as Elektra.
Very sexy.
Gorgeous.
I don't normally find her sexy, but
I love Jennifer Garner. I love Jennifer Garner.
And it was a little weird with that, like that young girl that's like, oh, I'm your next door neighbor in this house that you were put in to do a job, but I'm just gonna invade your house. That was a little weird. Not really.
Yeah, what's the word I'm looking for? The build.
Yes.
Was awkward.
Yes.
But the action was enjoyable and the characters I did like. But it was still a piece of shit movie.
Oh yeah.
My opinion. It was
not
awful.
Great movie. By no means am I going to tell everybody go see it. But I will say that if you happen to see it on TBS, throw it on while you're doing your homework.
Yeah, exactly.
It's okay. It's a good movie if you're willing to look past how bad it is. If you understand what I was trying to say there.
Pretty much every movie we have written down. But okay, so my piece of shit was Origins. Wolverine, you had Elektra. Okay, let's do one more bad movie each, and we'll progressively work our way up. Actually, you want to do a good movie now?
Yeah, I'm fine with doing a good movie.
All right, so I'll do. Let's not jump to Batman so quick. Let's leave those last. Watchmen.
The Watchmen.
A gem.
The Watchmen.
Watchmen Saturday cartoon. The greatest thing on the internet.
I'm nutty. I think I bring that up every time we do the Bobcast now.
I love it. Good. Let's keep it going. Take a shot every time.
Absolutely, Watchmen. This is a movie that it's very long. I will say that it's a very long.
2 hours and 56-minute running time.
But I would say a solid 1 hour and 56 minutes of great movie.
I'm going to say, I think exactly. If you got rid of all the slow motion and played the movie at regular speed, it'd probably be 20 minutes long.
Yeah, I love it. I think it's cool.
I loved Watchmen. I had so much excitement for this. I'm pissed. I'm an fucking idiot because I heard Watchmen was coming out. I knew who Alan Moore was through V for Vendetta. So I'd read that. Movie didn't come out yet. And Watchmen was coming out. And everyone was reading it. But the movie was going to come out like 5 days before my birthday. Okay. I was like, Bob, don't read the book. Watch the movie. You're always that asshole to read the book, then see the movie, and then you complain about it. Don't do it. Hey, bad boy, guess what I did?
What'd you do?
Read the fucking book. So, read the graphic novel, fell in love, was even more excited to see the movie, and shockingly, I loved the movie too. I could not believe it. That's how good this movie is.
See, I'll tell you though, this is a story that doesn't have a whole lot to do with the movie. My brother and I, when we found out The Watchmen was coming out, we bought the graphic novel. They released a special edition.
Oh yeah, the merchandise that got pumped out for this fucking movie.
So we bought it.
I borrowed it.
My brother read it, and he said to me, it's your turn to read it. And I was like, okay, the movie's not coming out for like another month. So I'm like, sure, why not? And I read, I would say maybe about 10 to 15 pages. And before I finished the 15 pages, the movie came out, and I looked at my brother. I was like, you know what? Let's just go see it. I'll check this out another time.
Too many big words and titties on the same page.
The thing that I loved about the movie was that some of my favorite... I will say I eventually did read it after I saw the movie.
Interesting.
I took time to read it because I was like, I love the movie so much. But what was really cool that I didn't really catch the first time around as much was how the intro credits had all my favorite scenes where Rorschach was like talking about past heroes that had died and all that.
Yes.
The opening credits scenes was a montage of all those, and that was like my favorite thing.
I love that with Bob Dylan in the background.
Yes,
times are changing. Everything about that movie, the soundtrack, the casting, the presentation, I loved it. Not to mention the color palettes, were very replicant of a comic book, because a comic book had a very awkward, it wasn't pleasant. Like it strained your eyes almost, but you couldn't help but pull away. It's
I mean, if you ever watch an interview with Alan Moore,
exactly, like the man's made of dust and necklaces.
I mean, this comic, even though he himself wasn't the artist, it kind of shows that, like, oh wait, I'm a crazy hippie, and this is this is what actually is being shown.
My beard is made of acid. Every time I lick my upper lip, I trip.
Yeah.
No, but speaking of which, you mentioned the opening credits real quick before we jump to another movie. Batman's parents are in the intro. Oh, yeah. There's a part where you see like Night Owl 1 kind of like decking a robber and his gun's going off. And if you look behind them, you see Batman issue number 1 pasted all over a brick wall, and you see look like a snooty rich guy and wife kind of walking out of a door into a back alleyway. No, and I think it says something. I don't think it says Monarch Theater, but it says theater on it. So it's like, holy shit. No, that's crazy, Night Owl.
Well, I'll be opening up my DVD that I bought for The Watchmen about 2 years ago.
Everybody's going to rewatch it. But
now,
yeah,
we're going to have to check that
out. The casting, the effects, the presentation, the soundtrack. Zack Snyder, I don't really like him too much, but I felt this was probably one of the best movies he's ever made. I loved Watchmen. Rorschach was done phenomenally. How'd you feel about the changes, though, real quick? Appropriate, necessary?
I felt that the ending was better for the public in general. Like, if you made a movie, scene for scene, I don't think it would have worked as well for the average viewer.
Like the giant squid. I felt everybody would have been like done and just left.
Oh, it's stupid! It's a giant squid. Yeah, that, and also they didn't really touch much in the movie about how Dr. Manhattan sees time.
I was hoping they would, because there's only so much you can do with paper and ink, and then I was like, oh, movie, they can do anything with this. And once again, like you said, they didn't really touch on that, like I wanted to see.
Yeah, he said, something along the lines of, if you could see how I see
If you could see
things,
time and reality the way I do, you would understand.
But we didn't really examine it. And that
Not
would have
really.
been pretty cool. Like, you could have done that pretty quickly with some very expensive CGI.
Oh, but I think at that point the budget, like that movie just broke budget. Like that movie cost like $200 million, I think, and change, and they made like 205.
Yeah, it was. But overall, if you haven't seen it, please do.
See Watchmen.
Great movie.
All right, that was mine. Your turn.
Okay, a good movie. Let's see.
Few pickings.
I
Few
can talk
pickings.
about bad movies all day. Now, what's a good movie? All right, I'm gonna say this is a little out there because I'm not sure everybody would agree with me that it's a good movie, but I'm gonna go with Blade 2.
Yes.
Blade 2. Now, I mean, Blade 1 would have been good, but it came out in a time when we didn't have technology to make movies. So, I mean, I like Deacon Frost's storyline, really cool stuff.
Yes.
However,
Getting an Abercrombie and Fitch model to play him was not a good choice.
And unfortunately, the end sequence and basically all the CGI scenes in that whole movie looked very silly.
Yeah, you can tell they were like, do we spend more money on weapons, or do we need to make that blood scene look real?
And it is what it is. So we'll go with Blade 2 when they had a bigger budget for that. They had Ron Perlman.
If I'm not mistaken, Guillermo del Toro was behind that movie. He directed, and anything he does, he did the Hellboy series.
Hellboy is something we should address definitely before the end of this.
Yes, but continue.
Then also, I mean, of course, we're all Walking Dead fans here. Norman Reedus was in that movie as well.
Was he?
Yeah, he was the sidekick who replaced Whistler until he was the guy helping Blade until they found Whistler, and then eventually... Well, I don't want to spoil the movie for anybody, but I think his name was Scud, something like that.
Oh, wait. I think so. But wasn't the kid from the Terminator also in there? Wasn't he eating the Krispy Kremes in the truck, and all of a sudden he got attacked by the vampires? Or am I getting
to rewatch that?
Yeah, I was going to say, because I have fond memories of just watching Ron Perlman. You know what my daddy said before he killed my mother? Like just great quotes. Anything with Ron Perlman is gold. But I loved that movie. I loved the whole... tentacle-mouthed, heart covered with a bone vampire. Like, you can tell Guillermo del Toro just shit all over this movie with his genius and his imagination.
The only thing I could say about this movie that was a little silly was that every time somebody hit the ground, there was like this huge, intense CGI, like boom.
Yeah. There was like,
okay, you know what? Not everybody shakes the entire earth when they hit the ground.
Not everyone can be Wolverine, okay? No one's as heavy as him. Relax.
But this was a cool movie. Fight scenes, motorcycle scenes.
Wesley Snipes, phenomenal casting.
Snipes, tons of shiny metal weapons. A lot of when they go to the club and all mayhem just follows basically.
I love Blade 2 is probably my favorite in that trilogy.
Yeah, because the third one was an advertisement for the iPod, and
actually pretty much. And Triple H's nose.
Oh yes, Triple H's nose all through that movie. In fact, you might say Triple H's nose was just listening to an iPod for the entire length of the movie.
That's where they kept him when they weren't shooting.
All right.
All right, my turn. Ooh, okay, let's go back to bad movies. Oh, so many to pick from. Do I really want to pick this one so soon? Batman and Robin. It's only fair we bring this out.
Fair enough. I mean, I think this is the first DC movie we've mentioned so far.
Wow.
And,
okay.
Yeah, because I was...
Watchmen. Watchmen was DC.
Thank you.
Sorry, but bad DC movie. Go on.
Okay, so Batman and Robin. All right, we're going to start with this movie has an amazing cast for something that just should have never happened this way. You have Arnold Schwarzenegger and Uma Thurman.
Ugh.
And Uma Thurman, she for a woman who's not very attractive, she looked pretty damn good.
See, everybody I talk to has the biggest boy boner over her in this movie. Even at that age, when I discovered what boners were, I didn't really fall for her, feel anything.
Skin tight, green outfit, big red lips. She has the appearance.
She was seductive. She was sexy like Poison Ivy should be.
Yeah,
as Birdman is, but I really don't. I really didn't feel it that way.
I felt it, and I didn't know what I was feeling at the time. This movie, even this movie has one of my favorite lines of all time in any movie in history.
Which one?
It's when Arnold Schwarzenegger barges into like the telescope at the end of the movie to like convert it.
Okay.
The Asian scientist turns and just says, "Who is this nutball?" And ever since that moment, I have been quoting that in, like, I would say once a week for the last, 20 years? That movie came out.
Oh my God.
97,
oh my
I think,
God.
something like that. So 18 years.
Like the day you meet like your father-in-law or something. Like, who is this nutball? It's just waiting.
The fact that when he's in his lair and they're watching Christmas Without Santa Claus.
That was great. That was so funny.
God.
Everything he said was a fucking ice pun. Yeah. Who killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age, huh? And he's freezing. Stay cool. like there's just so many. And Bane was brain dead.
Yeah, just a big retard with
a bomb.
Yeah, he didn't. I think he said maybe 5 words throughout the entire movie.
Literally. I think he screamed more than he did.
Oh, it was horrible.
He looked good.
Yeah,
I like the way he looked. Because I remember when that movie was coming out, I got a Wizard magazine. Okay. I mean, discontinued now since like 2011, I think. But I saw the Batman picture on it. Mind you, nipples weren't on the cover yet, so it was just George Clooney, Robin, and Uma Thurman. I'm like, all right, let me check this out. And I saw Bane. I'm like, oh, he's gonna be so cool. Nope. No, he had so stupid.
Which also, that's something you just mentioned, that there was nipples on the Batman costume.
Yeah,
and they did highlight them.
How did you? Do you really think there's such a need for hate over the bat nipples?
I don't think there's need for hate, but when you're making a list of grievances, why not toss it on?
Yeah, I figure like the list isn't big enough as it is.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going
the back credit card, never leave the cave without it.
So, I mean, this is a movie that doesn't have a whole lot good to say.
I went to Chase Bank and I asked them if I could create my own design, because some people like put their kids on their card, whatever. Yes. I asked if I can get like the back credit card as my debit card, and they were like, "No, we cannot do that." I was like, "Please, I will never leave the K without it. I swear. Please let me pick it."
No, that's horrible.
One day. But the storyline was silly. I am happy we got to see Mr. Freeze as a character on screen for once, as well as Poison Ivy. Because I feel if it wasn't for Jerry Bruckheimer behind this film, I feel we would have never seen any of these guys. I mean, excluding Bane, who wound up being in the Nolan trilogy. But I feel I'm happy just to know that we got to see them.
Yeah. I mean, it was the best of a bad situation, I would say. Just so that we had something. It was Arnold Schwarzenegger, big name at the time. Unfortunately, didn't transition that well. I'm going to keep rolling with the DC thing and just hit on one last bad movie. And I'm going to go with the Green Lantern. Now, this is a moment where Ryan Reynolds didn't do the trick. And it wasn't his own fault. I'm not going to blame him. He was a pretty good Hal Jordan. But the movie was terrible.
The movie was garbage. With the few instances of good, I liked, what's his name? He played the bad guy in Kick-Ass. He wound up playing Sinestro. What's his name?
I don't
Played Lord Blackwood in Sherlock Holmes. You know what I'm talking about? Mark Strong. There we go. That's his name. A little birdie just whispered in my ear.
Okay.
But Mark Strong, I felt he was a phenomenal Sinestro.
He was good. I mean, I love Tim Robbins. Unfortunately, Tim Robbins didn't have a whole lot to do in this movie. But
I don't like Tim Robbins.
You don't like Tim Robbins? Shawshank Redemption.
Okay,
man.
That's it. Okay, no, continue.
Okay.
The end. Shawshank Redemption,
right.
and
I'm gonna IMDb later, and we're gonna have this.
Howard the Duck.
Hey,
he played Thor. He played Thor.
Did he now?
Not a Marvel movie, but there was another one where these kids are babysitting, and I don't know what the fuck the plot is, but he's Thor.
Okay, I'm also gonna say, but Thor was also played by Zachary Ty Bryan once. For those who don't know,
holy shit, he was.
It was like a straight to sci-fi movie, and Zachary Ty Bryan played Thor. But
true.
Anyway,
so yes, Green Lantern was absolutely terrible overall, though.
The CGI was pretty cool.
Too much, though. Too much.
It was a lot. The Guardians looked a little silly in my eyes. Those long draping, like when they're on the council table.
Yeah.
Why would you even have this? Like, what's the point of this long draping garment?
You're royalty-ish. I get it, but
that Sinestro was cool. The Parallax looked a little silly, I think. But overall, the movie was weak. Kilowog was weak. I mean, you should have had Kilowog doing a lot more with the the training scene with Kilowog should have been a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah, I thought so, absolutely, because he's not a pleasant character.
Yeah, he's a jerk, and he trains everybody to the best of his ability. And I feel like this movie's like, oh, Kilowog's gonna beat you up a little bit. I don't know, wait, no, I'm Sinestro. I'm going to be the badass in this scene. I'm going to do what Kilowog should have already done.
Good point, yes. Yeah.
So that bothered me a little bit.
Yeah, I was hoping for more killing, more kill in Kilowog. I was hoping a lot more violence out of him. Like that was of all the Lanterns, I was really the most excited to really see brought on screen.
I like that they showed, I don't know the pronunciation, but bzzzt. The fly. they did
whatever. They did. They actually wound up showing them. By the way, I just want to plug real quick. It was actually Vincent D'Onofrio who played Thor in Adventures in Babysitting, not Tim Robbins. My apologies.
Okay.
So you can sleep easy tonight, Fitz. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Well, we're gonna have to edit this quite a bit anyway.
Oh yes.
But so that covers some of the worst live-action comic book
definitely some of the worst, and a handful of the best. I don't know, any last ones you just want to pick at? You want to compare maybe one series or a group of remakes compared to originals? Like you said, we have the Nolan trilogy compared to maybe the Tim Burton duology. There's both Spider-Mans.
The Superman.
Supermans.
Those are pretty different because there's actually, like, in my eyes, 3 series of Superman. Even though there's only 2, like one movie for Superman Returns and then 1 movie for Man of Steel because we haven't seen the Dawn of Justice yet. True.
Because
of Superman 1, 2, 3, and 4. Well, I should say 3 and 4 because 1 and 2 for the time. To this day they don't really hold up, but they were great. Gene Hackman. Yeah. Gene Hackman was
Christopher
great.
Reeves. I loved it.
I mean, I love when he rips off the wig, and I think it might have actually been the 3rd one.
It was later on, yeah, because I remember, if I remember, nerd, fucking loser, he didn't want to shave his head for the first one, so he hired a personal stylist to keep combing his hair a different style, so it would look like he was always wearing a wig.
That's like Superman Returns was god awful. Superman 1 and 2 were good. 3 and 4 were cheesy. Man of Steel was very good in my eyes. My personal opinion, I thought Man of Steel was very good.
I had mixed opinions about Man of Steel. My problems was, just briefly, I didn't like how serious of a tone it was. I understand that Superman is a Boy Scout character. He's bubblegum. He's Wonder Bread. He's white Wonder Bread. That's it. There's nothing really special about him, but I felt it wasn't necessary to take the whole Dark Knight, really dark aspect to look at him. I just didn't appreciate it. I didn't really like it. It was too emotional. Kevin Costner, like, no, totally don't blow up your spot. Let me get sucked up by this tornado. It was a little too much. I didn't like how dark and realistic they tried getting with it.
But that's what they would try. I think that's exactly
they overdid it, though.
Because they were saying there was such a huge amount of success with the Dark Knight trilogy that it's like, why don't we do this with Superman?
Well, that's because the Dark Knight trilogy did what made Batman big in the first place. It did nothing but make him a dark character, as kind of like Burton did. Burton was really dark with a hint of comic. Dark Knight was just straight up serious. Nolan was like, let's just take fucking Batman for what he is. And on that last bit, we'll call it a show for tonight, bad boy. I'd say so myself. How about you?
That sounds like a good idea. We covered quite a bit tonight.
And speaking of covering stuff, we're going to cover next week's feature. Particularly, we're going to look toward a certain animal. Bats. And with bats, we happen to have a bird. And that bird will be joining us next week to cover the Batman series, the Burton, the Nolan, and the Bruckheimers. And we're going to see where we can go with that. And till then, kneel before Bob, as well as the bad boy. See y'all next week.